Stephen Port was born on February 22, 1975, in Essex, England. At 1 year old, he moved with his family to East London, where his parents still live. Port was described as a loner and quiet, and he was often bullied at school. After high school, Port attended art college, but dropped out due to costs and instead trained to be a chef. As an adult, he has been described as having a childlike personality by his neighbor because he would play with children's toys. His ex-girlfriend would likely agree with this description of Port, as she broke up with him because of his childish personality. While an unusual personality is never the cause of someone's crimes, Port's atypical persona complements his shocking list of crimes. Port is currently serving a life sentence after being convicted of 4 counts of murder, 10 charges of administering poison, 7 charges of rape, and 4 counts of sexual assault. These are his victims. There are many questions about the police investigation that led to his indictment, and we will examine these in detail later on. In short, a BBC documentary has described the investigation as a catalogue of police failings. For example, the police failed to link the deaths of Port's victims, even though their bodies were all located in the same place, and even though there were obvious signs of date rape drug use. These were ignored for far too long by the police. The interrogation of Stephen Port may provide some insight into the mind of someone heinous enough to commit these unthinkable crimes.
So did you have any involvement in the death of the male that we just spoke about a short while ago, Gabriel Cavari or Gabriel Klein?
No, I didn't.
So, were you involved in administering any drugs or poisons or noxious substances to him?
No, I don't administer drugs to anyone or give drugs to anyone. That's done at the party by someone else. The name I recognised, one of the parties mentioned before, was he's normally at the parties and deals with administrating drugs.
Who's that, sorry?
Daniel. Recognised him. Sometimes he deals, he hands out the drugs to the guests.
Daniel, this is the male,
yeah,
that we spoke of earlier.
So, it might not be the same guy, I really don't know. But it's the only Daniel I know. Or, I mean, I've spoken to him a couple of times at the party. I remember his name. He does, like when I did, Scott would ask him to pick up guys, take them to a party, and he would stay, but he would stay and administer or deal out hand out with drugs, whatever. But I would leave, or he would stay.
And did you go with Daniel to meet people?
No. I knew he was doing the same as I was, but I see him at that party and I had a brief conversation with him about it. But I've never actually engaged with him outside of the place.
Outside of the party?
That's right.
And which parties were these?
Well, Scott calls the fat parties.
Scott's parties?
Yeah.
The fat party?
Fat party, F-R-A-T.
Frat parties? So when was the first occasion that you met the person that you're talking of, someone that you know as Daniel?
I think it was on the first few occasions I was there. It was the first time I bought a guy for Scott, and Daniel was there. So I don't even know if it is the same Daniel we're talking about, but it's the only Daniel I can recall as such.
This is a shielding, protective body position where he is attempting to shield his stomach and chest from the investigator.
I think his name was Whitworth. It rings a bell, but
You think his name was Whitworth?
yeah. I mean, if he's tall, almost as tall as me, with brown hair, slim.
Might help if I show you a picture. call this CRT 2. This is Jack Taylor. Do you recognise that mate?
No. No, I just don't recognise him. No. I don't pay full attention to the guy's faces when I've been to parties. This, but I don't recognise his face.
So you don't recognise his face?
I do not know. No.
And I mean, that's Jack Taylor, so you don't recognise
No, I don't.
Jack Taylor?
No.
So, have you ever slept with this male?
No.
Had sexual intercourse with him?
He doesn't look like the type I would go with myself.
He's not the sort of person you'd go for?
No, I tend to more. It's more younger, drinky boys, more younger boys, but not. He looks older.
It is interesting that he points out the young age of this victim because all of Stephen's victims were in their early 20s.
He could be similar to the type I've taken to parties, but I don't recognise him as being one of them.
So you don't recognise him as being one?
No.
No. Okay. And Jack, again, was found dead. It was on the 14th of September 2015.
Stephen's reaction to this information is interesting. Most people would be wondering why they're in an interrogation room discussing the murder of someone young. However, Stephen is silent.
Stephen, did you have any involvement in his death?
I did not know. No.
Did you kill Jack Taylor?
Did not know. No.
Did you administer any drugs or noxious substances to him
I did not know.
with the intention of causing him harm?
No. Definitely not. No.
No. And you say you've never seen him before. Is that right?
That's right.
That's right. Okay, I've got another map here, CRT8. So I'm just trying to show you as many maps of the area because it's not easy to get it all on one piece of paper, just so that we're clear really. And again, it shows your home address and it shows the church St Margaret, and behind it you've got the abbey and the primary school. In particular, the area around the walls of the abbey. Have you ever had any reason to go into that area?
No.
Have you ever been through into the abbey?
No, I haven't. No. No, I don't generally go to church areas. No. No. I think once went to that church with my ex Danny. Went to the church on a Christmas day, and into the church. But that's as far as I got. As far as
You've not been into the grounds behind it, where you've got the old abbey walls.
No, gosh.
The grounds there.
No, it's a spooky, so I won't go there.
You've never been in there.
No.
In all the 8 years that you've lived across the road from the park.
No. I thought it was all private. I wouldn't go there. I think it's a private area.
Perhaps realizing the severity of the investigation and how much evidence the prosecution will have when this goes to court, he moves into a retreated position. Where he was previously resting, leaning forward on the table, he has now retreated his arms into his lap.
What's the church?
It's fairly open, isn't it, when you go past? Would you agree with that or not?
At the fields, yeah,
Yeah.
the field is, but the church bit behind the walls, we'll go past there.
Because 3 of the 4 people that have been found dead were found slumped up against the wall here of the abbey.
Gosh.
Pardon?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? So that's news to you, is it?
The detective is clearly insinuating his guilt in this instance, making it clear that the bodies were found very close to where Stephen lives. However, Stephen is still not acting defensive, as an innocent person might in this situation.
Did you put them there?
No, there's no.
So obviously Anthony was found slumped outside your address with a large amount of GHB in his system. The other 3 men we've been discussing were all found over by the wall area of the abbey. We can see on the map. Again, all of them were slumped against the wall with a large amount of GHB in their body. Can you account for that at all?
No, I can't.
I mean, Stephen, did you write this letter here, CRT 11?
No, I didn't.
The photos of it that's found with Daniel.
No. No. If you're not,
Are you telling us the truth, Stephen,
I'm telling you the truth, yes.
about the letter?
Yes. 100% truth.
About all of these boys?
Yeah.
Young boys? In the early stages of their youth, really, in terms of in their early 20s. All found dead. Stephen?
Yeah, I understand, but
Close to your house. One of them had been in your house, either just before or at the time when he died, and was found to have large quantities of a drug in his system. The other 3 were all found just over the road in the churchyard, or just beside the churchyard in that area that we've discussed,
yeah.
propped up against a wall, short distance from your house, all again with high levels of GHB in them, enough to kill them. Highly unusual way to die for one person. This is 4 all found very close to where you live. All men, young men, type of men that you say that you find attractive. All now dead, Stephen.
I said, Anthony, I know nothing about the other 3, how they come to be.
Stephen, this is serious,
Yes, I know.
okay? It's really important that you tell us the absolute truth.
Yeah. Yeah. Everything I've told you so far is true.
Unfortunately, this is all the interrogation footage that has been made publicly available, and Stephen mandated he was innocent throughout the court proceedings. His unrelenting claims of innocence would be fruitless in the end, as he was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to life in prison. Now, let's go through some of the questions revolving around the police interrogation. 1. Crucial witnesses were not questioned. Port's neighbors saw Port in a dazed state, with a large container full of white powder and bottles of clear liquid, and received suspicious texts from Port regarding one of the victims. 2. Police failed to link the cases. Even though the cause of death was identical and the location of each body nearly the same for Port's first 2 victims, investigators did not link the deaths and failed to identify the suspicious connection between the bodies until all 4 men were dead. 3. Police led families to believe their sons overdosed on drugs. The drugs found in the systems of Port's victims were date rape drugs. These are not drugs that are self-administered. For this reason, it is unlikely, bordering impossible, that the boys would overdose. In the end, do you think Stephen's sentence was adequate? Are the police at fault? Thanks for watching.